Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. Good evening to all of you in YouTube land. I hope and pray that you and yours are happy and healthy and safe and well. Right now the time is approximately 7:50 p.m. Eastern Time and the date is Monday, May 1st, 2023. To my fellow witches and magical practitioners, a blessed Beltane for you and yours. May this season of summer and this season of fertility give birth to wonderful new ideas and wonderful new opportunities for you. And of course, because the sun is still in Taurus, may the great goddess continue to shower you and yours with great and glorious blessings of love, money, and creativity. So, this is a full walkthrough of the limited edition Sage Rabbit Tarot. So I wanted to start with just going over the deck first. Actually going over the deck details first. So Six of Wands will be happy to know it is not a tuck box. But the magnetic is nice, but I had to look for some of the cards, so try to keep it on top of a desk or in a drawer or what have you. But yeah, I dig the fact that it has a nice sound to it. It's in Chinese, and you'll see the characters and the logo are in gold. Red and gold is such a lovely combination, especially considering Chinese culture. And you'll see this beautiful rabbit on the inside. Now, I must say, personally, I've never been drawn to rabbit imagery. In fact, when I was a little boy, I remember somebody telling me that when rabbits bite, it really hurts hard. So I've kind of been low-key afraid of rabbits ever since. But now that we're in the Chinese year of the water rabbit, I've been finding myself immensely drawn to rabbit imagery. And there's actually another rabbit-themed tarot deck that has drawn me. I haven't purchased it yet, but I need to purchase it sooner than later. Let me just put it to you that way. The booklet is very small. There is a spread called the Rabbit Ear Spread, which if the translation from Chinese to English were better, I probably would understand this. I'll definitely need to reread it, and maybe I can get a better grasp on it. And I want to thank Levi of Masculine Intuition Readings for turning me on to Tavata Tarot, which is where I purchased this deck, TavataTarot.com. I will include the link in the description box about this deck. But for now, let's go through all of the cards. I'm going to start with the back of the card design, which is very pretty. It's matte, and it has a red edging, which you'll see when I do the last part of the deck. And we're going to start with the Major Arcana, and I'm just going to put them down, and then we're going to go from there. I'm very happy with the High Priestess card. Some of you may know that when I consider buying a new tarot deck, I need to look at the High Priestess card to make sure that she meets my standards of Isisness. Because in so many different tarot decks, the High Priestess card depicts a representation, rather, of the goddess more commonly known as Isis. And because the goddess more commonly known as Isis is my mother goddess, my celestial mother, as I would say, I need to make sure that the imagery resonates with me. Several years ago, there was a tarot deck that I had purchased. No, I had considered purchasing it, and I remember it was in a store, and I had the opportunity to look through the deck because they had sample decks for people to look through if they were considering buying a deck. I took one look at the High Priestess card of that deck, and I was like, no. It was just an immediate no. There was nothing about that High Priestess card that whispered, let alone screamed, "I am the goddess more commonly known as Isis." And so I did not purchase that tarot deck that day. If you ask, I'll tell you which tarot deck, and I'll tell you which publishing house, because it is one of a handful of tarot decks that have the same or almost identical title. Now, with regards to oracle card decks, which do not have the same structure as a tarot deck for the most part, unless they are inspired by tarot or happen to be a tarot-oracle hybrid, those decks, I look to see which card resonates the energy and or the imagery of the High Priestess. And over the years since, and this was before I began using Lenormand and regular playing cards for divination, I would have already established in my mind which card in that particular oracle card deck was the High Priestess card. You know, I still remember before Doreen Virtue lost her mind, I remember I had purchased her newest oracle card deck at the time. It was her second fairy-themed deck, and it was something along the lines of messages. No, it wasn't Messages from the Fairies oracle cards. It was a more elaborate title. I do remember it had this beautiful purple on both sides, like a purple border on the front, and the background design was this rich royal purple with gold trim. Not gold trim, but with gold highlights. And I distinctly remember there were actually 5 cards that energetically and imagery-wise represented the High Priestess card for me. And I distinctly remember purchasing it the same day it was published, and I believe it was May 3rd of that year. And I distinctly remember I went to my beloved Borders. There were 2 Borders that I used to go. There were 2 Borders bookstores that I used to go to most often. The one that I would go to more often for convenience was the one located on West 34th Street near the corner of 7th Avenue. That was the Park Plaza location. Oh, and now we're in the Wands. And I distinctly remember the one in Kips Bay, which was on East 32nd Street and 3rd Avenue. They had a larger selection of tarot decks and oracle card decks. So I knew that if I wanted to buy a book, I'd go to the Park Plaza location. But if I wanted to buy a tarot deck and or an oracle card deck, especially if I had one of those juicy coupons that I used to receive via email, then I would absolutely go to the Kips Bay location. Plus, the Kips Bay location had an in-house cafe, so I knew that I could have a coffee and a sweet treat at the Kips Bay location. So I distinctly remember purchasing it there, and I definitely remember, I want to say it was May 3rd that day, but it was definitely a Thursday, because I remembered when I first read The Goddess's Guide to Love by Margie Lapanja, that based on the cosmic color vibration section, the most ideal colors to wear or use on the Thursday, day of Jupiter, are purple, lavender, and lilac. And to this day, and ever since I began offering, well, as you may recall, I no longer offer metaphysical classes, group or private, in person or online. But I definitely remember that after I began offering a monthly goddess class, I noticed that I dressed in lunar colors almost exclusively. And these days, the only variation is purple, which I think purple is technically a lunar color. It's certainly a Jupiterian, something like that, color. But You ever notice how when it's dark outside, blue looks like purple? So, yeah. And now we have begun the suit of cups. And I must say the bunnies are super cute, super cute, super cute. I'm really happy with this deck. I've only used it once or twice, I think. You know, it's funny, I actually do not remember if I've used this tarot deck yet. I'm pretty sure that I have. I'm pretty sure that I've used it at least once. And specifically at Notions and Potions. But offhand I do not remember. Which doesn't surprise me because I've been told for years that I channel when I conduct a reading, regardless of which card reading system I'm using, whether it's tarot, oracle cards, Lenormand. I really haven't done much with Kipper. Kipper is very similar to Lenormand, and people that have studied Lenormand, for them using Kipper would not be an issue. And when it comes to Lenormand, I've definitely used more of Le Petit Jeu Lenormand, but I am remembering to spend more time with the Grand Jeu Lenormand. And that reminds me, I am so very beyond behind on Lisa Young Sutton's videos. Lisa Young Sutton has an amazingly wonderful YouTube channel called Lisa Loves Lenormand. And there is so much that I've learned about Lenormand from her YouTube channel. And of course, I have both of her Lenormand books. In fact, I even did a video about each of them. And specifically, I said that the price of her first book was so reasonable, and that the Start Here chapter is worth the price of the book. Interestingly enough, I recently discovered that the price of her first book is the same at both the publisher, bookbaby.com, as well as Amazon.com. I personally only want to purchase her books directly from the publisher because any books, and I don't know how other publishing houses do this, but any person who publishes a bookbaby.com author directly from bookbaby.com, the author of that book receives 50% of the monies. Not so with Amazon.com. And I don't mind telling you I have an issue with that. And now we are in the Suit of Swords. Drake saw something very interesting on the internet. Although Drake knows that he needs to be paying more attention to what's going on over here, but I know he can do both. I definitely know he can do both. And for the record, I'm not timing this. In other words, I'm not timing how long I'm keeping the card in front of the camera. I'm looking at least 3 seconds, maybe closer to 5 or 6, but definitely enough time so that you can pause the video if you want to take a longer look. Now, some of these images are not going to look so cute like the Ten of Swords, obviously. And now we begin the Suit of Pentacles. And I especially love how they took a Chinese coin and modeled a pentacle after it, but the only main difference is the pentacle design and a round center as opposed to a square center, or rather a round hole as opposed to a square hole. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I did find all the cards earlier. It wasn't all of them that had fallen out of the box. It was just a handful. I love the cherry blossoms in this card. I really do. And I love how this card has the coins depicted as feng shui cures. Now I also want to say something else about this deck. And by the way, here is the rich matte red edging. These cards are ideal for somebody with small or medium-sized hands. I remember the first time I purchased a pair of leather gloves as an adult. I remember the salesperson had said that my hands were medium. And I'm pretty sure that they've remained a medium to this day. So here is my hand, and you'll see that they are small. I will look to see if I can get the dimensions for the cards, and I will include them in the description box. But they definitely are smaller than standard size, which is why they fit into the box. And this is the size of the box, which is already getting a little frayed, but it's okay. And appropriately, that is the strength card. I can see the strength card depicting a dragon, or a dragon that looks like a lion, or vice versa. It's a lovely deck. I love the magnetic box. I'm sure Six of Wands loves the fact that it's not a tuck box. And I definitely really was drawn to it. This is the limited edition. I do not know offhand if there are any left, but I do know that when I last visited the website, I did see that there were some limited edition decks available. Offhand, I couldn't tell, other than the external cosmetic differences on the boxes, I couldn't tell what the difference was between the limited edition and the regular edition. I will say I was very happy at the time to get the limited edition at an introductory price. I hope that you enjoyed this full walkthrough of the limited edition of the Sage Rabbit Tarot. I don't usually do cute in my decks. Historically, they have dark, rich jewel tones, but I really loved the look and the feel of this deck. And again, I find it fascinating how, after so many years, I really all of a sudden I'm finding myself drawn to rabbit imagery. As a matter of fact, I had visited, I think it was an Etsy shop the other day, and I had forgotten that they had a pendant of a rabbit racing across the moon. In fact, the rabbit was in full sprint on the lower part of the crescent moon, and I thought it was the cutest thing. And of course, it reminded me of the Chinese goddess Chang'o, the Chinese goddess of the moon, and her animal familiar is a rabbit. Although, depending upon the resource, some say that it's a hare as opposed to a rabbit. The main difference between a rabbit and a hare are the ears. A hare's ears are much taller than a rabbit's. But I do hope you enjoyed this full walkthrough. I'm noticing that there are certain things that Drake and I are fine-tuning with regards to these videos, and I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying that this is something that is going to make me very happy, and I hope it makes all of you very happy too. So I hope all of you have a beautiful night, a wonderful week. Make the most of this Beltane season, and as always, stay tuned for the next video.